Great to be here with you guys today. Money Mitch, put him in a... I can't do it anymore. That phrase has officially been retired until further notice. Kelsey Mitchell this season has been a one-man show. Dribble, 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 dribble. Dribble, 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 dribble. Dribble, dribble, dribble. Dribble, 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 dribble. Stephanie White has convinced her she is...
Stephanie White has convinced her she is 13 dribbles, 1 turnover. Caitlin Clark stood wide open at the perimeter, her arms raised in total disbelief, but the ball never arrived. Kelsey Mitchell didn't just ignore her teammate, she completely froze her out during the most critical moments of the game against the New York Liberty. It wasn't a simple mistake or a missed read on the floor. This was a deliberate, calculated choice to keep the ball in her hands at all costs. Even as the Indiana Fever's offense collapsed into absolute chaos around her, the bench sat in stunned silence as their veteran leader decided to go rogue, proving, once and for all, that the team's chemistry is currently on life support.
Dribble, dribble. Stephanie White has convinced her she is Allen Iverson. Stephanie White has convinced her that she does not need to pass the ball. She doesn't need to look for others. She doesn't need to play defense. She doesn't need to do anything other than score the basketball. Now, last year, that could work to a degree. You were really the only player on this team. This year, Caitlin Clark's back and fully healthy.
The phrase, Money Mitch, has officially been retired, and it isn't coming back anytime soon. For years, fans used that nickname to celebrate her scoring prowess, but right now, it feels more like a badge of selfishness. Kelsey Mitchell has turned this season into a one-woman show, and the reviews are absolutely scathing. Watching her play recently has been like watching a slow-motion car crash, where the driver refuses to look at the map. She is playing a brand of basketball that belongs in a different era, or perhaps a different league entirely. The frustration among the fan base has reached a boiling point because it's clear she isn't interested in being a piece of the puzzle.
You were really the only player on this team. This year, Caitlin Clark's back and fully healthy. You're going to need to change this style of basketball. You're going to need to understand that you need to get Caitlin Clark the ball because she will get you easier looks. You're going to need to understand, if I don't have a path to the basket within my first couple dribbles, I got to come up off the ball, swing, and see if anybody else can do anything with it. Kelsey Mitchell this year, it's been bad. Now, shout out to Keep the Vision. He put together a few clips.
Stephanie White has seemingly convinced Kelsey that she is the second coming of Allen Iverson, and that is a massive problem for this roster. The coaching staff has empowered her to believe that she doesn't need to pass, doesn't need to look for open teammates, and certainly doesn't need to focus on the defensive end. All she is expected to do is put the ball in the hoop, regardless of how many possessions she wastes in the process. Last year, that style might have been tolerable because the roster was thin and options were limited. But this year, everything has changed. With a generational talent like Caitlin Clark on the floor, Mitchell's refusal to adapt is actively sabotaging the team's growth.
Liberty game, in her press conference, she's talking about the tunnel vision that some players on this team had. And though she didn't mention Kelsey Mitchell by name, because only Caitlin Clark gets mentioned by name when it's spoken about in a negative way with the Indiana Fever, that's how Stephanie White rolls, there's no doubt who Stephanie White was talking about in this moment, and that is Kelsey Mitchell. Let's get right into it, shall we? Like the video, hype the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribe to the channel. That would mean so much to me. Kelsey Mitchell refuses to pass to Caitlin Clark or Indiana Fever teammate. Full film breakdown on Keep the Vision YouTube channel. Go shout out and go subscribe to his channel if you aren't.
The film doesn't lie, and the clips circulating on social media are genuinely hard to watch. In one sequence, Mitchell recovers a missed free throw and, instead of looking for the outlet, she begins dribbling in literal circles. It looked more like a circus act than a professional basketball play. She ran laps around the court for no apparent reason, completely ignoring 3 open players who were screaming for the rock. By the time she finally decided to do something with it, the defense had reset, and the opportunity was dead. It is the kind of low basketball IQ play that makes coaches lose their minds, yet, it has become a staple of her game this season.
Refuses to pass to Caitlin Clark or Indiana Fever teammate. Full film breakdown on Keep the Vision YouTube channel. Go shout out and go subscribe to his channel if you aren't subscribed already. Let's take a look.
There's no way Caitlin Clark can play with this girl, man. It just is what it is. It just is what it is, bro. Let's count how many dribbles she had before her turnover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Damn.
13 dribbles and a turnover. 13 dribbles and a turnover.
If you count the dribbles, the reality becomes even more insane. There are possessions where she touches the ball and literally bounces it 13 times before coughing up a turnover. Think about that for a second. In a fast-paced professional game, she is holding the ball for 10 to 12 seconds of the shot clock just to give it away. It's the equivalent of a psychological turnover before the ball even leaves her hands. She is playing with a level of tunnel vision that is almost impressive, if it wasn't so destructive. Every time she crosses half-court, you can almost see her mind close off to every other jersey on the floor that isn't her own.
Is what it is. It just is what it is, bro. Let's count how many dribbles she had before her turnover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Damn.
13 dribbles and a turnover. 13 dribbles and a turnover. The lady, look at this. Kelsey Mitchell, she's going to miss the free throw, get the ball, and watch this. Look at this. Just dribbling in circles. Just won't pass it. I'm going to just run in here and throw it up. Dude,
Stephanie White finally broke her silence after the Liberty game. And while she tried to be diplomatic, the message was loud and clear. She spoke about the team having tunnel vision and failing to move the ball when the pressure shifted. Although she didn't mention Kelsey by name, everyone in that locker room knew exactly who she was talking about. White has a history of only calling out Caitlin Clark by name when things go wrong, which is a bizarre double standard that is starting to grate on the fans. But this time, the subtext was impossible to ignore. The coach is seeing the same selfish patterns that are driving the spectators into a frenzy.
just dribbling in circles, just won't pass it. I'm going to just run in here and throw it up. Dude, pass the damn ball, Kelsey. It's not that, like, you are not going to have a heart attack if you pass the ball once in a while.
That's an equivalent of a turnover to me. That's an equivalent of a turnover to me.
Here comes Kelsey Mitchell. Dun, 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 dun. Clank. Just the girl don't pass the ball, bro. Like, y'all act like I have to show y'all the footage so you can see we're not making it up. This lady refuses to pass the damn ball to anybody.
Now, shout out to
The dynamic between Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark is becoming the biggest elephant in the room. Clark is a player who thrives on ball movement and transition looks, but she can't do anything if the ball is stuck in Mitchell's pocket. It's a fundamental clash of styles that is currently being won by the veteran's ego. Kelsey needs to understand that if she doesn't have a direct path to the basket within her first 2 dribbles, she has to give the ball up. Swinging the rock would actually get her easier looks in the long run, but she seems terrified of the idea that someone else might create the play. It's a lack of trust that is killing the Fever's momentum.
because it's to the point where now Kelsey Mitchell gets the ball and us as fans and spectators we're watching, we're like, she's just going to take it. She's just going to go head down and try to make something work. Instead of trying to look for a better shot, and instead of trying to swing, instead of trying to find an open man, she's just going to try to do her own thing and waste away a possession. Maybe one day we'll bring back Money Mitch, put him in a... But as of right now, he's hanging up in the rafters with some of the greatest phrases ever. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video, hype the video, and subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. See you next time, and as always,
And as always, there was one play in transition that perfectly illustrated the disaster. Mitchell was jogging up the floor, looking completely disinterested in the defensive transition or the fast break opportunity. She wasn't tracking her player. She wasn't looking for the open lane, and she certainly wasn't worried about the score. It was horrible basketball that looked like it belonged in a pickup game at the local park. When your veteran leaders show that kind of effort, it sends a poisonous message to the rest of the locker room. You can't expect the rookies to buy into a system when the highest paid players are essentially doing whatever they want without any consequences. The statistics are starting to reflect the eye test, and they aren't pretty. Mitchell is chucking up shots that can only be described as desperation heaves, often with two defenders draped over her, while Clark stands 10 feet away with nobody within 5 yards. It doesn't matter if she gets hot once every 2 weeks and drops 20 points. If those 20 points come at the expense of the team's rhythm and the development of their franchise cornerstone, they are hollow stats. Winning basketball requires sacrifice. And right now, Kelsey Mitchell is refusing to give up a single ounce of her personal glory for the sake of the Indiana Fever's win column. What's even more frustrating is that Mitchell has the talent to be a devastating secondary option. If she embraced the catch-and-shoot game or learned to cut off Clark's gravity, she would be nearly unguardable. Instead, she chooses to fight against the flow of the game. She wants to be the primary creator, the primary scorer, and the primary ball handler all at once. It's a recipe for disaster in the modern WNBA. The league has become too fast and too smart for ISO-heavy basketball to work consistently. By refusing to pass, she is essentially telling the defense exactly what she's going to do before she even does it. The fans are starting to turn and you can hear it in the arena. Every time Mitchell puts her head down and drives into a crowd of 3 defenders, there is a collective groan from the crowd. They know what's coming. They've seen this movie before and they know it ends with a blocked shot or a wild airball. There is a growing sense that something needs to change immediately. Whether that's a shift in the starting lineup or a serious come-to-Jesus meeting behind closed doors, you simply cannot have a player who ignores the most talented passer in the league while she's standing right next to her. It's basketball malpractice at the highest level. The Bad News Bears comparison is starting to feel less like a joke and more like a reality. The lack of cohesion on the floor is startling for a professional team. There are moments where players look confused about where to stand because they know Mitchell isn't going to look for them anyway. It creates a stagnant, lifeless offense that is easy to scout and even easier to stop. When the opposing team knows that one player is never going to pass, they can cheat off their assignments and swarm her. Mitchell is making the game harder for herself and her teammates, and she seems completely oblivious to the damage she is causing. Stephanie White's refusal to hold Mitchell publicly accountable is also coming under fire. By shielding the veterans and only pointing the finger at Clark, she is creating a lopsided power dynamic that could ruin the locker room culture. If Mitchell isn't held to the same standard as everyone else, why would she ever change? She continues to play her brand of hero ball because she knows her minutes are safe and her coach is in her corner. It's a dangerous game to play when you have a fan base that is hyper-focused on every single possession. The accountability needs to start at the top or this season will continue to spiral. Caitlin Clark is fully healthy and ready to lead, but she is being handcuffed by a teammate who views her as a threat to her own shot volume. That is the only logical explanation for some of these missed passes. There are times when Clark is streaking down the court a full 3 steps ahead of the defense and Mitchell will pull the ball back out to reset for an isolation play. It is mind-boggling to witness. You have a quarterback who can throw a 70-foot strike, but the wide receiver insists on running the ball themselves every single time. It's a waste of talent and a waste of the fans' time. The transition defense is another area where Mitchell's didn't hold back attitude is hurting the team. When she misses one of her contested layups, she often lingers under the basket to complain to the officials instead of sprinting back. This leaves the Fever playing 4-on-5 on the other end, which is a death sentence against teams like the Liberty. It's a lack of professionalism that shouldn't be tolerated from a player with her experience. You can't claim to be a leader if you aren't willing to do the dirty work when your shot isn't falling. The entitlement on display is becoming a major narrative. even the media is starting to pick up on the low basketball IQ labels being thrown around. It's a harsh criticism, but when you watch someone dribble into a triple team for the 5th time in a single quarter, it's hard to argue against it. Basketball is a game of angles and recognition, and right now, Kelsey Mitchell is failing the test. She is playing with blinders on, focused only on the rim and her own stats. The irony is that her stats would actually improve if she played the right way. She would get wide open in threes and easy transition buckets if she just let the game come to her instead of trying to force it. The swing philosophy that Stephanie White supposedly preaches is nowhere to be found when the ball hits Mitchell's hands. In modern basketball, the ball should never stay in one place for more than 2 seconds unless a play is being actively executed. Mitchell routinely holds it for 6, 7, or 8 seconds at a time. This kills the energy of the other 4 players on the court. Why bother cutting or setting a screen if you know the ball is never coming your way? It creates a ripple effect of laziness and frustration that permeates throughout the entire roster during the game. We are at the point where fans are dreading the moments when Kelsey Mitchell gets the ball in transition. Instead of excitement for a fast break, there is a sense of impending doom. Everyone knows she's going to take it all the way herself regardless of how many defenders are waiting for her at the cup. It's predictable. It's inefficient. And it's frankly exhausting to watch. The team needs a facilitator, not a ball stopper. If she can't find a way to integrate herself into the system that Caitlin Clark is trying to build, then the front office is going to have some very difficult decisions to make. The coaching staff needs to realize that the Money Mitch era is a relic of a losing past. Keeping her in this role is a sign that the organization is afraid to move on from their old ways. They are clinging to a player who represents the before times while the after times are already here in the form of Caitlin Clark. You can't bridge that gap by letting the veteran ignore the rookie. It has to be a partnership, but a partnership requires both parties to actually participate. Right now, it's a one-way street where Mitchell is the only one driving and she's headed straight toward a dead end. The frustration voiced by creators and analysts is just the tip of the iceberg. People are calling it a clown show for a reason. When you have elite talent on the floor and the product looks this disjointed, it's an indictment of the player's willingness to sacrifice. Mitchell's refusal to pass isn't just a quirk of her game. It's a fundamental flaw that is holding the entire franchise back. They have the pieces to be a playoff contender, but they are being held hostage by one player's desire to maintain her status as the primary option. The league is watching and the reputation of the Fever is taking a massive hit. How much more of this can the fans take? Every game feels like a repeat of the last, with Mitchell taking 50 dribbles in ISO and chucking up nonsense shots. It doesn't matter how many times Stephanie White talks about tunnel vision in the press room if she doesn't actually bench the players responsible for it. Actions speak louder than words. And right now, the actions of this team suggest that individual stats are more important than collective success. It's a toxic environment that will eventually push the young talent to look for the exit if it isn't corrected soon. Maybe one day the real Money Mitch will return. The one who could score efficiently and play within a system. But as of right now, that jersey belongs in the rafters of what could have been. The current version of Kelsey Mitchell is a liability to the team's long-term vision. She had the chance to be the perfect veteran mentor for Caitlin Clark, but she chose a different path. She chose to hold on to the ball and ignore the future of the game. It's a decision that will likely define her legacy in Indiana and not in the way she probably hopes it will. Ultimately, the Indiana Fever are at a crossroads. They can continue to let Kelsey Mitchell play her own brand of basketball and hope for the best. Or they can finally demand accountability. The talent is there, the spotlight is there, but the chemistry is non-existent. If they want to win, the ball has to move, the ego has to die, and the stars have to learn to play together. Until that happens, the fans will continue to watch in frustration as possessions are wasted and opportunities are lost. The clock is ticking and the silence from the locker room is louder than ever.